Okay, I think the meeting is now streaming live. Can you see it? I cannot. I will do my best this morning. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Do you see us? Are we out there? Are we streaming live? Welcome this wonderful Saturday morning to whoever is watching us. There we go. I see us. We got two people out here. If you're watching this morning, give us some hearts so we know you're actually live with us this morning. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, hopefully they'll hear and give us some love this morning. Share this with your friends and family or anyone you know that might be considering buying a home. We are back with our weekly, once again, Q&A for all of you guys. Um, Before we get started, I'd like to do a huge shout out to the MVP, affectionately known as Alan Dorn or Alan Jean Dorn. If you're friends with him on Facebook, today is his birthday, and I want to wish you a wonderful birthday. Thank God for you, and thank God for another year. I'll see you later this evening. And also, when I tell you he's the MVP, here we were up this morning moving furniture because I wanted to bring a piece of furniture to my office.
Oh man,
Yeah.
happy birthday, Big Al.
And cleared out the garage just to pull it out. We got all these boxes stacked in the front yard, which is my stuff, mind you. Because
Okay.
when we relocated offices and then when I kind of started clearing out my home office, everything kind of got shoved to one side of the garage. So yeah, we're those people. I have to squeeze in the one bay and the other bay is used for storage. So anywho, I again, happy birthday, Alan. I love you so much and I will see you later. Surprise, surprise. Okay. So, Marquita, thank you again, once again, for joining me for this weekly Q&A. I wanted to finish up where we left off last week. I think we kind of stopped right around, we were talking about the 7 steps of home ownership or the home buying process. And for those that are right now thinking about it and, really wondering, I guess, when is the right move and what does it entail? Because I get that a lot. So I figure if we just kind of throw it out there and just share the steps with families, that they can then make an informed decision. So as they walk this process, these are some things that they can anticipate as we move forward. So we kind of started off with obviously the initial buyer consultation. And then, we moved along with once we do that, we send them over to you, the Queen of Mortgages. Because obviously, if you don't have the moolah, unless you're paying cash, if you don't have financing, then obviously you can't even buy a car, right? So let's pick up there because that is a very intricate part of home buying. And honestly, that's kind of like, get the pre-qualification to find out that they are loan worthy. But I like to go a little deeper and not just call you up and say, hey, I make X amount of money. I've worked on this. I have this job, and I believe my credit is this. Because we know there's so many different pieces to obtaining financing, and quite honestly, that really is the foundation of home buying. Obviously, got to have the money. So, when these buyers, once we've had our initial consultation and we have them contact you, Marquita, can you share with us that whole kind of recap what the steps are and the importance of what needs to happen in order for them to come back to me and we can start the whole home shopping part?
Yes, so I thought we talked about it some last week, but just to reiterate, just kind of like what you said, there are several different credit scoring models out there, and unfortunately, it's not made known that this is not the credit score that you may have when you're buying a house. So I tell people there's actually levels to this. So once you reach out to me, a lender or reputable financing, they are going to want to pull their own credit report, just so that we are using the scoring model that is consistent with our industry. So we are going to look at a credit report that is used in the mortgage industry. And we're also going to ask for income documentation. As I mentioned last week, the 222 is a way to kind of remember that 2 years tax returns or W-2s, 2 pay stubs if you're paid every other week, and 2 months bank statements with all pages, including the one that's intentionally left blank. At that point, excuse me, we are going to review that paperwork to make sure that the information you put in the application or gave us over the phone is accurate. And then we run a system that's called a desktop underwriter. Okay, and that is consistent across the industry. We all use the same desktop underwriting system, and that'll let us know whether a loan is approved or accepted and eligible for financing. So you're really only as good as how far your lender has done work and how far you've gone to give us the actual paperwork. So that desktop underwriting approval needs to be accurate, and it needs to be information that has been verified. And I think that's the difference between there's a large lender out that actually sends out a pre-approval letter that actually states that they have not reviewed any documentation other than a credit report. So that's just not enough for me anyway, to solidify putting my name on a letter, because that letter basically is what's going to get you out there and shopping and happy house hunting. I'm like, basically, we're writing you a check to go shopping and stop window shopping at this point. Absolutely. So there is another level, to mortgage pre-approval that we used to do called to be determined and to be determined underwriting. And that's still out there. And we could talk about that a little more, but I'll let you go further into the steps. But basically a to be determined underwrite is where you actually you sign loan disclosures with to be determined as the address, and you actually move the file forward into the underwriting queue. We haven't done that here recently just because of capacity issues, but that is a way to be a much stronger buyer than the next person that's submitting an offer. It takes longer, so it's not like you can get, a pre-approval can happen within 24 hours of you turning in your information as far as a pre-qualification and running a desktop underwriter, but actually going through the underwriting system, it's longer to get that information back, and lenders are working at capacity now, but it will make you stronger, a stronger offer for you in the end. Something to consider.
Especially with the competition that's out here today, as we've talked about so much. I get asked quite a bit, what kind of market are we in? What kind of market? And I'm thinking, well, what position are you in? Because the reality in my mind, yeah, we may say it's a seller's market because there is just no inventory, really down to 2 weeks. However, it is a buyer's market as well because of these historically low interest rates. So, Marquita, when you say that you look at the 222s, the 2 years tax return W-2s, look at 2 weeks of pay stubs, right? Or not 2 weeks.
Pay stubs if you're paid every 2 weeks.
And then the bank statements. So, credit scores, that's also important, correct? I mean, like, what is a minimum that is, just across the board? I know, different companies have different portfolios or guidelines, I should say. But would you say, what is the lowest that a home buyer could consider? But then I know that also affects, the type of interest rate that they would qualify for.
You have some companies willing to lend down to a 580. Our company does allow that, but I am typically not a lender that's going to work with someone at a 580 score. And not to be discriminatory, but there's probably other things that we need to work on to try to raise the score, in my opinion, to at least 620. So at least want to get in that 620 range. And just because, as you mentioned, the lower score at 580 is going to have a higher interest rate, more likely more fees, as well as it's just going to be a highly scrutinized loan file, which, I would say buying a house can be stressful. It's an emotional process. I would prefer to work on credit so that we can get automated approvals, get to the 620 and take some of that stress out of it. Absolutely. Right? Because typically if you're at that score, something's going on that either needs to be corrected or behavior change or whatever that actually is.
Yeah, because the lower score really does kind of has a red flag that this is a higher risk.
Exactly.
Associated with it. So yeah, that's super important. So again, steps 2 and 3, after you've had the consult with me, and obviously we kind of drill down on what's important, just, to the family, what their needs are. Obviously then they come to you. or a lender. And then after that, once you've given us the golden seal of approval, now we can go shopping. And then we just get out there and we, after, because now I am in the background while they're working with you. Our team is now putting together a search and really kind of getting out there looking for the property that, again, just better matches the family and what it is what they're looking for in their home purchase. That would be step 5. So step 6 at this point now comes down to making an offer, which again, we've identified the property, and then we start to pull comparable properties to determine that the offer price is in line with market value. Now, I'm always throwing in caveats, right? Because in this market, even though market value says X, if you are competing, most likely that property value is going to escalate because buyers are offering above list in a lot of cases simply to get the house that totally matches their family's needs. And again, going back, that's all driven by lack of inventory, supply and demand. Just think about that. I always say, think about when the snow comes and everybody comes rushing in the grocery store. I think we had that experience last week, and no milk on the shelves, right? So first come, first serve. Same deal with the houses, right? You can get a good deal, but by the same token, meaning interest rate, which expands their buying power. Am I right? You have, with the historically low rates, does allow buyers to have a little more buying power. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is
So,
correct. Based on where we were a year ago at this time,
sure.
um, a year ago at this time, buyers had about 10% less buying power, right?
Yeah.
So 10% higher buying power because of the low rate climate. Unfortunately, though, some of that buying power has been taken away because of the lack of inventory.
I like
So
that.
now we're escalating. So it's almost like it's a wash at
Yeah.
this time. Yeah.
Yeah. And not only escalating, but also removing terms. So, we've got to, and again, that's all part of the whole, consultation. When we sit down together, I lay it all out and just kind of show you where we are and explain the entire process, as well as, kind of setting your expectations. Because I don't want you to, because sometimes you may not get the first house. We were fortunate enough, a family was able to get their a dream house, but that was the second house they made an offer on. The first house, I mean, I think there were like 16 offers. This one, there was 8, and we actually, we were the winning bid. So, that worked in our favor. So that would be step 6. Once we do identify that property, we will strategically work together to put together that winning offer. And again, that goes back to, what's important to you and where your buying power is. And I also like to say, even in our consultation, because of this market, don't look at the top of your approval. If your approval is 400, 500, I don't care. Don't leave some wiggle room. Keep in mind the lender is going to require an appraisal. And if you can't go above your, your whatever the maximum approved amount is, then you just might as well not even apply. Because if you're competing against, and let's just say this scenario we had, and you're at 8 offers already on the table, you've got to be able to come to the game with your best hand, honestly. So, those are things to keep in mind. And then obviously we get down that step 6, and then we come down to step 7, which is getting you to settlement. That's a very important aspect of this, because now there's other steps involved, right? So we've got to, the first thing we like to get out of the way, obviously, is the home inspection. And if that's a term that the seller did agree to, even if it's for informational purpose, only giving you, the borrower, an opportunity to walk, I still recommend it for all my buyers. At least kind of go in here, at least with some idea of what you're buying. And then we start that process. In the meantime, we forwarded the offer over to the queen of mortgages or your lender, and then they're starting their process. Marquita, can you just kind of elaborate a little bit on what that back end involves once we are ratified and we have a contract on the table? And I threw out a word, ratified. So ratification means all parties have come to an agreement meaning we have a meeting of the mind and everyone has agreed to the terms in that contract and signed the contract, and each party, the respective party, has a copy of it. We are officially ratified. It is that date. That's the date that everything hinges on. Never fails, phone calls. Um, that means that, the home inspection, if you have 3 days or 7 days to get that done, it starts from the day of ratification. So the very next day is day one. Same with the financing. If there are finance contingencies that are put in that offer, which there will be, obviously, again, unless you're paying cash, we send that over to the lender. They start doing their work. Marquita, can you share, while we're doing the home inspection and working on our side of the contract, what does the lender do with the contract once you guys get it?
If the loan's not been TBD underwrite, then at that point we're going to send out loan application and disclosures that match the actual ratified contract. We have the address and the terms of your accepted offer. From there, we will receive those documents back, and the fun stuff starts. We are going to send the loan into processing. We want to verify that you are still employed. We are going to order what's called a title report. We're going to order an appraisal, assuming the home inspection goes well. And then we're going to move that file over to an actual person. So remember earlier I talked about a desktop underwriter was an electronic approval. At that time, we're going to actually send it to an underwriter, a physical person who does not know you personally. Okay, they know you by your scenario. So your numbers, that's how they're judging you. It's not personal at all. And they're going to verify that the information was used in the desktop approval is correct. So some checks and balances. And at that time, they may have additional questions that they're asking. You as a home buyer at that time also need to be reaching out for homeowners insurance, which is the insurance to cover the property if something were to happen, as far as like a fire or house not being able to be used, because you have to protect your investment. So all these things are happening on the back end. And if we're doing it right, we're hoping this is a seamless process, but a lot of communication within that 30 to 45-day window, or however long we have in that contract to move that process forward. So once we get into conditional approval, we add any additional information that the underwriter has requested, and then boom, here we are ready to close.
Bing, bam. You mentioned something. You talked about the time frame. What and to do this. So, in a market such as currently what we're in, what do you recommend in terms of a closing window? Like, how quickly can you guys get a loan, through closing, through this whole this whole back end process of financing?
It's a great question, and it's hard for me to actually answer it without giving all kinds of disclaimers, right? I mean, technically, you could get an underwriting approval 24 to 48 hours after submitting a loan, but there's so many other pieces that happen,
really, like the appraisal.
So, yeah, it's like we're the gatekeeper of all this information, so it's almost dependent upon how everybody else does their job, but whether we're going to able to close quickly or not, right? So, I mean, at the least 21 days, I'm asking for at least, but we really do prefer a 30-day contract because of the moving parts, right? And I only can control what I can control. Like, we can order the appraisal expeditiously. However, they're all down the web, right? So it's other people involved. So, homeowners insurance, as I mentioned, them getting information back, the title company getting information back, the appraisal coming back at value and possibly no repair. So yeah, I think a 21-day window is still relatively quick, but at least
30 days preferred.
30 days.
Right. Yes. And then also you're depending on the borrower to get you the necessary documentations that you need from them in order to continue to process that loan, or the getting it on package so that you can get it to that actual person. So while you're doing your end, we're on our end. We're doing, as I said, we do the home inspection. Obviously, we negotiate that. If it is given us, if we do have the option to do that, or allowing the buyer to walk. Also, other inspections such as the pest inspection or the wood destroying insect, which folks may have heard referred to as the WDI inspection. So we're taking care of that. Obviously, if it's in a homeowners association, our borrowers have, or our buyers, they have 3 days to review those documents. So there's still some other pieces on our end as well that we're also working to, again, make this as seamless as possible. But it is a team or a collaborative effort where all parties have to work together and be responsive in a timely manner. Our contracts even say time is of the essence. So while we're doing our end, the title company, they're ordering the title report, they're researching the current property and making sure that it is clear title. If you want a survey, you're ordering that. So also, you can have a surveyor go out and mark or stake out the property to ensure that, so that exactly what your lot line and what you're purchasing. So, we're preparing and planning all of this. And also I also want to note that you are getting updates weekly from our team. So not just from my side, but also from the mortgage side. We're providing you with updates throughout the process, so at what phase where we are or where we are in this whole process of home buying. So that's pretty much it. And as Marquita said, once this goes through, because they actually are the icing on the cake, I will say, because once all the other pieces are done, all the inspections are done, the title report comes back clear, and all the things that on our end is taken care of. Lender comes back, says the underwriter has approved. There were no conditions. You guys have done everything. And then hallelujah, we're going to closing. And then you sign on the dotted line and you get those wonderful keys to your new home. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Those 7 steps, certainly we really kind of glossed over it. But to give you an idea of the steps involved in home ownership, or as you take on this journey, we would love to be your choice, and to help walk you through this process. Our goal, I know for Agent for the People, and I can say this for the Queen of Mortgages as well, is to take as much of the stress away from you. Yeah, it is stressful. I mean, it's a huge purchase. It's a huge investment. And sometimes this is the largest investment that most people will make in their lifetime. So we really do want to be your source, provide you with some accurate information, and hey, hold your hand through the process and take away as much of the stress as possible. We like to really exceed your expectations throughout the entire home buying process and or home selling. So we'll get into the home selling process next time. But listen, guys, as always, we do want to be a resource. If you already have a team together, great. But we're here as well. If you have any questions, if we didn't go deep enough for you, please drop us a comment, private message us. Our numbers are certainly posted. Of course, you can hit us up on our websites. I'm, of course, your Agent for the People. And then you've got Queen of Mortgages if you want to throw your contact out there.
I definitely can be reached at queenofmortgages.com. I can be reached on Facebook Messenger. And as you said, I mean, you can definitely find my phone number if you want to reach out. So at the end of the day, teamwork makes the dream work. And
Amen.
like Amy said, it's all about communication.
Very good, Amy. Thank you. And ratified title. We're going to get her out here one of these days. So you guys can please be sure to stay tuned. That's going to be posted on one of our future Q&As, so that you can talk to her about their role in the home buying and selling process. Thank you all once again for joining us. Marquita, once again, thank you for your time. And I wish you a wonderful weekend. And go Kansas City Chiefs. That's who I'm rooting for.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I like that little dude.
Right now, you know I'm not going for that. Like, come on.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
I'm Tom Brady all the way. I think it's gonna be tough though.
It's gonna be an interesting game.
It should be a great game. And yeah, may the best man win.
Let's give it to the young dude. I like to see the young guy.
He's young. He's got plenty of time. Let TB12 make some more history, man.
There you go. Well, either way, it's going to be a history-making event. Everything is.
I agree. I agree.
But thank you again. Happy birthday, Alan. Marquita, have a fabulous weekend, and we wish you guys all the same. See you next week on your Q&A with the mortgage lender and myself. Peace.